When you think about spirituality and food, almost naturally, the first thing that comes to your mind is fasting. We've always been taught that the interaction of our food with our spirituality naturally leads to fasting, and if you're not fasting, then you're not spiritual. Only the people who are most spiritual are the ones who fast. And yet, I see in our modern American church culture, none of us really believe that's true because a lot of us don't fast at all. And here's the biblical trouble: I don't see Jesus fasting once his ministry began. Now, you've got that 40-day fast out in the desert where he's being tested. But once his ministry begins and he goes to Galilee and begins preaching, I don't see Jesus fasting at all. And he didn't teach his disciples to fast. In fact, one time his disciples asked him, "Why don't you teach us to fast like John teaches his disciples and the Pharisees teach their disciples?" And Jesus' response was to say, "Look, nobody goes to a wedding reception and when they're offered cake says, 'No thanks, I'm fasting.' You go to a wedding celebration, it's a time of joy." He says, "The time is coming when the bridegroom will be taken away, and on that day they will fast. But right now, it's a party, and nobody's going to fast while we're having this feast." Now, that's a loose paraphrase, but that is in essence what Jesus says. Instead, we find Jesus, when it comes to spirituality and food, having lots and lots of table fellowship with people around him. We're seldom more authentic with one another than when we are eating. I mean, there's something about sitting across the table from someone and watching food fall out of their face that makes you really decide whether you care for them or not. And of course, in the ancient world, table fellowship was a major, major deal. In our fast food culture, we can go to a restaurant with someone, sit down, eat, and be out the door in 35 or 40 minutes. But in the ancient world, if you invited someone over for a meal, you actually had to cook it for them, which sometimes meant that you're slaughtering livestock. I mean, it's a major undertaking to have someone over for a meal. So, table fellowship was very, very intimate in the ancient world, and it was a special event. But here's the thing about Jesus' spirituality when it comes to food: food was never the issue. Rather, it seems to be who Jesus ate with that became the major deal. And Jesus welcomed to his table everyone, from the disciples to the Pharisees, to the crowds, to the outcast and the poor, the Jewish leaders. There was no one who wasn't welcome at Jesus' table. As you study today, keep your eye on who Jesus is spending his time with. When it comes to our spirituality, the way we deal with food, what we do with food is important, but the food is not the issue. It's what we do with it